Games, Brains, and a Head-Banging Life. As promised, here it is. 10 things we hate about the Hellraiser movie series. We do have a lot of love for this series and a lot of hate. Yeah. Go check out 10 things we love to see the deep dive that we did into the elements that we really do enjoy. Now, of course, it is the elements we don't enjoy across the expansive film series. And I'm going to dive in straight away, as I've mentioned, expansive film series with my number one. Which is there are more bad movies than there are good. Yeah. This is the biggest shocker of this. And this applies to a lot of franchises that we all love. Halloween, disputable. It might be a bit in the middle of good and bad. Nightmare on Elm Street, there are a lot of bad ones. And so on. Hellraiser is exactly the same. Yeah. It has more bad than good. I would, if we're running through the films, good is Hellraiser 1, Hellbound. Hellraiser 2, 3 is terrible. Yeah. I really don't like 3. Bloodline, in the middle, maybe. Yeah, good elements, average. Not so good elements. We've got like Deader, Hellworld, and Hellseeker. I think Hellseeker is probably the only one out of them that's any good. Yep. Revelations can get in the fucking bin. Yep. And Judgment leans more towards good than bad. Yeah. But again, it's like, I can't turn around and say to you, that's a great movie. When you break it down, there are just 2 great Hellraiser movies. Yep. Out of that many. Yep. What? And we double up on that one because I've gone for having to sift through the awfulness. And she left it at the first 2 films rather than a lot of franchises weakening the impact. So it was just like another dirge of, oh, okay, Hellraiser 1,000,001. Yep. Rather than kind of going, oh, the first 2, Hellraiser 1 and 2. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I'll roll it into this one then. Dimension Films. They have to take a massive amount of responsibility for the shit that we got later on. They were so desperately trying to make sure they didn't lose the franchise rights to this. So a lot of franchises, when they're agreed and stuff like that, who owns the rights, are often you must make a film in that name over a certain period of time. Yep. It's a stupid fucking rule to have. It's absurd. I get it because it's like, well, if you're not using it, you don't get to keep it and it has to go to someone else. But sometimes those are really restrictive and you'd be like, you need to make a new Hellraiser film every 2 years. What if you don't have an idea? Yeah. What if you don't have it? That's crazy. Quantity over quality. Absolutely. And that's what Dimension Films did. They started spitting them out whenever they could just to keep hold of that. Just to keep hold of the rights that we would get another Hellraiser movie, even if, and it will roll into another one, but I'll go to it afterwards, even if it meant nothing. Even if it wasn't worth it and it would just damage the overall. And here's the thing. It's like, you must have known you were going to continue to get diminishing results of money for this. Was it worth it? Yeah. That's the madness. And it's not the first time we've seen companies desperately try and hold on to these franchises and fuck things up because of that. But Dimension Films, I hold quite heavily responsible for the wealth of wank we got with Hellraiser. Yeah. And when we start reading through the trivia, you can see how it progressed from cinema to straight to video, straight to DVD. Yep. Like, don't even give a chance. Yeah, because it was never going to be. It's never going to, like, you must know. Yeah, because to obviously save money, they weren't going to do massive amounts of PR for it. There was no going to be trying to get it into the cinema. It was like, well, let's just sell it on DVD. Hellraiser fans will buy it, and hopefully we'll recoup the cost of making it. Yeah. So I've got that. My next one links into that. So the mess of directors and writers and the impact on the films. So just how. Yeah, that's just my noise I'm going to make for it. Yeah. It just seemed like such a mess. Different directors, like 3-4 writers on some of the films, and just no real clear direction with it. Yeah. Just when you look at back at it, you're like, why did they do this? So they have a brief bit of money, but like obviously links into what you said. The franchise rules all. Get making. Yeah, I mean, and again, we're going to continue rolling because that rolls into this one, which is obviously famously, if you don't know, they took scripts that were nothing to do with Hellraiser. Yep. But because they needed to make a Hellraiser movie, they reworked them to jam in Hellraiser elements. Yep. Things like Deader and Hellworld are 2 that jump to mind first when it comes to that. And because of that, you got films that felt so disjointed. So like, wait, what? And so random. And then it would be like, oh yeah, there's our link to the original. Or here's Doug Bradley popping up briefly as Pinhead in the last 2 minutes to try and fucking, make it seem like a Hellraiser movie. And you were just like, that was a decent movie on its own. Yep. Like, why did you do all of that? Like, sometimes, hilariously, the Hellraiser elements made it worse. Because they just didn't need to be there. Yeah, we said before, some films, they would have been better horror films just on their own merit. Yep. Without the Hellraiser crap tacked on. Abso-fucking-lutely. And this is all with a separate end, but it's all surrounding the same issue, which is justice, quantity over quality. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've had that same one. The fact that Hellraiser element was jammed in after the film was made was just like...
Yeah, which is often as well, tying it back to your other one, it's like often where you saw, there's X amount of writers because the screenplay came from this person, but the original writer for the script was this person, and then so-and-so came along and was like, there. Pinhead can go there. Yeah. They can mention the box there. And it's like, oh my God, stop, please, stop. Okay, right, let's move on from that.
Yeah. Your next one?
Well, we doubled up, so it's mine.
Okay.
Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 is simply put the best film in the series. It is. It is. I won't hear anyone tell me any different. But it's often overlooked because of the iconic nature of the first, which I think is an unfortunate shame. I think you can say the first film was iconic and but the second one couldn't exist without the first. Yeah, that applies to everything. But when you hold the two up and you go, which is a better film, which tells a better story, which has more action in regards to horror as well, not like action in the sense that people are running around with guns and doing crazy shit, but expands on the original idea, takes a broader picture of it, makes it scarier, in bigger, bolder, better. That's the rule of a sequel. And Hellbound does that.
Definitely.
And to me, it is the superior film. I'm not alone in this as well. The writer on the website, Rapture's Lost, Liam, he wrote the reviews for the majority, if not all of the Hellraiser movies. And so in the definitive ranking, when it came to putting them in order, Hellbound was number one. Second was Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with him. It's Hellbound's an 8 out of 10 movie. Hellraiser's a 7. That kind of thing, you know? And Hellbound 2, I wish it had more... I hate that it doesn't get the love and appreciation from the wider-hearted horror community. They talk about, Hellraiser, great remake and all that. And I'm like, Hellbound? Like, doesn't need touching, please. Don't do anything. Yeah. You know? That kind of element. Yeah.
So my next one is the clear lack of money as Deader and Hellworld film back to back. So the lack of money and like how cheap it looks. So when they were in America, they had like it clearly was still in Romania.
Yeah.
So they just had like number plates tacked on cars, but you clearly see like the way the country looked.
Yep.
It looks exactly the same as in Deader. So it was just like, it's so cheap.
It's incredible. I love it when they do this. I absolutely love it when they try to play off, say, Romania or Bulgaria, somewhere they filmed in Eastern Europe for whatever reason. And I'm going to mention another set of films that did that to hilarious consequences that we will eventually get to. But, this is a real Deader worse. No, Deader works because she does actually go there. Like, it's implied she does go there. So it's fair in that. But then there are elements where it's like, you're not in America, guys. Stop being silly. Stop being silly. Hellworld hilariously does that. It's hilarious, and they kind of get away with it a bit because purely it takes place in a mansion far, far away. But it's like I say, the cars come along, the cops come along. It's like, it's not an American cop, come on, man.
Yeah, it's another like sort of like weakening of the franchise and just cheap.
Cheap is the right word. You look at it and you go, yeah, this is cheap. The movies I'm going to reference that do that hilariously is Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5. Awful movies. We haven't covered them in 10 things yet. We've done obviously the first 3 movies separately, and we will do 4 and 5 as a unit. The reason why is 4 and 5 will film back to back in Eastern Europe. And the high school scene might be the funniest part of that movie, as they pretend it's an American high school. And oh my God, people talking and you're like, what? Wait, what? They're trying to pretend this is American. Oh my goodness me. It has to be seen to be believed, but we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, the cheapness, I don't have it, but it's certainly up there. I get it. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. This is where the franchise goes wrong for me, immediately. I know people have a lot of love for this because it's a little bit more, dare I say, kiddified? I know that's a weird thing to say about a Hellraiser film, kiddified. Comic book, yeah. Even though it has elements of sex and violence and all that, and there are some good elements in it too. But what I want to pick out of it more than anything else, and the moment that I remember my feeling as a child and when I saw it when I was younger, and you're like, you know when you want to love something, but your heart tells you you can't? And then when you get older, I'm like, I fucking hate this. New Cenobites in Hellraiser 3. So, Pinhead's Cenobite army, the ones that you had in the original 2 are dead because they were killed at number 2. This evil version of Pinhead decides to create some new ones. But basically, they got so fucking lazy, they decided to just theme them. And like, we've got Barman Cenobite, Cameraman Cenobite, Disc jockey Cenobite, and it's like, and whatever their job was, it seemed, is what they are. So like Doc has a camera in his eye because he was a cameraman. Barman has a fucking mixer and throws it. CD guy has CDs that come out and throws, like, oh my God, is that the best you can do? And it's annoying because there are other elements that are good, like Piston Head, which is JP. Looks great. And I love the fact that when it moves, his head goes to you know, stuff like that. That's a bit more like realistic into what it is. But the others are so fucking lazy. But I'm still not done. To make it all worse, one of these Cenobites talks. And it is, of course, Doc, who says a handful of lines and makes the worst fucking puns possible. From shooting explosive out of his eye and then saying, that's a wrap. Or the main girl, can't remember what her name is, it's time for your close-up. Oh, dear God.
It's not enough of a comedy film to get away with that level of cheesiness.
It's
not supposed to be like that. And it just feels... Yeah.
Here's the problem. You could argue that Dr. Chenard makes similar puns in number 2.
Yeah.
However, the quality of Kenneth Branagh is that he believed everything he was doing and it came across in a sinister, twisted, I'm evil. Yeah. Fuck you all. This just comes across cheesy as fuck because the Doc character ain't that good of an actor either. No. And it just comes like, these are just bad lines. But also, you're a secondary Cenobite. Why are you getting to say so much? Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, man, there's the down point of the franchise for me straight away. Yeah.
We had the same one.
Of course.
Cheesy, awful Cenobites. Doc and the DJ from Hell on Earth stand out.
Yeah.
For me in there.
Yeah.
So.
Fucking hell. Oh.
So God. We double up. So I go again.
No, we double up. I go again.
Oh.
I just did mine. You doubled up. Then it's my go.
It's a concept.
It's not. Continuing on with that, then the overall lack of imagination with Cenobites going forward. Full stop. Repeat ones. Nothing new, nothing that made you go, wow, like really stood out. You know that early on, the Chatterer or the female Cenobite, and you're looking them up and down, you're like, oh, her neck's exposed, and she's got this, or the Chatterer, or the fat guy, Butterball. Even, you know, and those elements are good. Number 3 started a downturn of just nothing, and later on, all we would get is like, oh, look, that one's got leather wrapped around his face, stitch, or something like that. Or that one's got his face stitched up. Or here's another version, X amount of versions of the Chatterer, a female version, a torso version, a beast version. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, oh. And every so often you would get a surprise. You would get a surprise, you know, Angelique, when she turns into a thing with the exposed skull, looks pretty cool. The twins that are melded together. Yeah, the twins, the fucking twins. Always talking about the twins. But those elements were good. But then it just, you never cared as much, like, when it later on, like, and even like Hellraiser 3 when the smoking girl, she's called a dreamer, and all it is like her throat has a cigarette in it. It's like, wow.
You could do some research into S&M and all the kind of
really
like,
bondage it up.
Really bondage it up, and then kind of combine that with say like reading like Dante's Inferno. You could have read some like literature on hell and kind of combine elements of both to make new. You got a wealth of like information you could look into. Yeah. I
mean, what I had done is I'd gone crawling back on my belly to Clive Barker's house, apologised for doing what he did, paying whatever money he requires to take back over the franchise and let his imagination run fucking wild. Because that's all he needed. The man was there.
Yeah, exactly.
But you fucked his franchise up so much you didn't want to know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Him, yeah. My next one is the ease of opening the box.
Oh, fucking hell.
In the last films. It feels like it started to be like a challenge that would drive you mad.
A puzzle box.
Yeah. That would drive you mad. You'd be trying to do it for ages and go mental trying to do it, to just looking at it and doing, and like they all knew what to do on that bit. Like you wouldn't know what to do like with your, I'm doing this, the circle part where you trace your thumb around it, and it seemed like they all knew to do that. You wouldn't. You'd look at it first. You're probably trying to tug on bits, and it seems it's open too easy. You could just look at it by the last films and there you go.
I haven't got it, and I purposely left that out because I knew you might put it in. And I thought, well, there's my opportunity to talk about. I 100% agree. We joked non-stop throughout the franchise about how it got to the point where if you looked at the box, it would spring open. In the first films, you got the impression that they obsessed over it. That they locked themselves away for days or weeks on end, trying to open this box to find one part that would click into place and stuff like that. And even in the book, I remember it talks about how like once you got one part in place, it was like your fingers were doing it themselves. Because desire is what opened the box. Desire. Not just solving a fucking puzzle or going trace button in. Oh, it's open. And it was just like, oh my God almighty. Yeah, it got really fucking bad. Anyone could have opened it.
And it just demonstrated like the lack of care they had with the franchise. Just not giving a shit. Like watching the first 2 films and going, no, we don't need to have that. That's just extra. That's extra cost to film a longer scene. That's what I felt like while watching that.
Yeah. The later films of the series felt, how little they felt like it was something from Clive Barker's mind. Now I get it, not everybody's a fan. Love him or hate him, love his work, be it his work in writing or his work in film or his adaptations and all that. I think there's a mixed bag out there. I don't love everything Clive Barker's written. I think when he writes really, really, really well, Books of Blood, stuff like that, his shorts are fantastic. But I personally adore him. I think he's an incredibly imaginative, and he opened up my eyes to a world of sexualized violence, which I thought was fascinating at the time. That's Clive Barker. And we get that in the early films. By the later films, we're talking onwards from Hellseeker, really. You can clearly see there's nothing from Clive Barker here, because everything is clean, everything's tidy, everything is neat, everything is no real impressive gore beyond blood. The effects are terrible, the budget is crap. You talk about cheapness. It does not feel like the mind from Clive Barker. It'll have that little credit based on, and it's like, yeah, that's about as close as you're going to get to anything Clive Barker related here. You know,
don't look like the cheap. I say sci-fi, but I'm wrong. Sci-fi movies.
Yeah,
they all look like them, just like churned. Like they all were.
Basically, were.
Yeah. No concept to the original article.
I'd even go as far to say that Judgment, while it is grimy and grotty, doesn't feel like Clive Barker either, because to me it's got too much influence from modern horror, including Saw and stuff like that.
Also elements of Cell.
Yeah.
There's like nightmare sequences in Cell.
Yeah.
When you go into
talk about Cell.
I enjoy bits of that anyway. But
the J-Lo movie, yeah?
Yeah. When you go into like a serial killer's brain, there's bits of that reminded me a lot of the opening scenes of Judgment, with the auditor and the girls that are waiting there for the filth to come out.
Agreed. Yeah. Cool.
My next one. They move. Links into that one purely. They move away from the darker sexual elements of the Hellraiser story.
Yeah.
So like I said, just drifting far and far, further and further away. So almost have enough on that one.
Yeah. They really do move away from that thing where it's just basically a clear definition between what's good and evil. And I didn't. We enjoyed the blurring of the lines. We enjoyed the blurring of the lines between what might be considered twisted, wrong, taboo. And what if it's not? What if it's not? No, that's just bad.
Yeah.
Having sex with a prostitute while married? No, that's bad. I mean, of course it's bad. But what I mean is in the sense of Hellraiser, I feel like would have blurred that line about the possibility. And I think if you remember when we were watching that film, I kept going to you, well, we don't know about his marriage. Maybe his marriage is terrible. Maybe his marriage is falling apart. I was trying to look for a way to try and explain and think it was more broader than just, a guy cheats, makes him a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's so fucking
wasn't it? Yeah.
Black and white. It's like grey, people. That's Hellraiser. Yeah. Grey. He had to come up. Of course he did. But fuck me, is there a terrible casting choice for the new Pinhead in Hellraiser Revelations. It is one of, if not the worst of the series. It is terrible. Terrible with some awful acting. And of course it was the first to recast Doug Bradley in this guy that is too short. He has... I don't want to... It sounds bad because I'm judging his image and stuff like that, but I've got to bear in mind it's the prosthetics more than anything else that make it worse. So in this film, the makeup and the style of prosthetics they put on his face for the pins have enhanced certain elements of his features, including his lips. This man has very full-bodied, warm lips.
Yeah.
That are fine on normally, but when he's supposed to look like a demonic dead ghoul, it's just like, what the fuck? Hence the term blowjob lips that we joked about in the Love video. That's the name that Liam coined for him, because that's what it looked like to him, like, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's so fucking distracting. And he doesn't look good either. He doesn't even look good. And they didn't even like his voice. They used someone else's voice for it. The fuck? I realised it was a near impossible task to recast, but they made a real shit job of this one.
Yeah, because he's supposed to look gaunt. So like Doug Bradley looked gaunt.
They didn't colour his lips. Do you remember that was a big problem as well? They didn't colour his lips. They coloured his face, but left his lips looking more normal, which really added to the fact that I said it's like, those lips look like they could kiss you well. You know, like that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it was just, I had the same one. Poor choice of actor. Wrong face shape, poor costume. I think even the costume wasn't
Would look
great.
cheap,
Because that's why he compared it to Judgment when he had more of a priest-looking costume.
Cloak, flow.
And went kind of like from the back of his neck, it kind of all joined up. Whereas this just,
it was just the same. It was the same Pinhead played by someone else. And that was a big mistake.
It's like recasting like Billy Zane, because he's got full lips and do you know what I mean? He's got quite a striking.
I'd watch Billy Zane do that.
Like a full face.
I put the coat on her.
I put the chains in her.
Okay, here's a personal one. The constant rumour that Rob Zombie may or may not be involved in a remake.
Hope not.
If you want to turn me off a remake of Hellraiser immediately, I'm already not pro at either because I generally think the first movie's fine. And I don't think it's aged particularly poorly. And I struggle to see what you could do differently in a remake beyond pushing the envelope. However, I don't think they will. I think they'll scale it back because they'll want it to be a hitter.
Yep.
And because of that, it'll be scaled back.
I can picture it. I think it'll be cast Richard Brake having a long, lengthy speech.
God almighty, you do love you, Richard Brake, but you do play one character.
Go-Go Xenobites in the background.
The idea of Rob Zombie being involved in that terrifies me. It is a personal thing. I realise a lot of people do like his work, but I think the man made 2 good films, and everything after that has been horrendously poor, below par, and it's not getting any better. And the idea of him being involved in Hellraiser with his style, you'll get gritty, but it'll be exactly what and it'll be that shaky camera. I mean, he would have to change, but he never has. I mean, we watched 3 from Hell, which is his latest film, and it was the same fucking beat, same beats. And we might get elements that we do want in a Hellraiser remake, which is like gritty, grotty, dark, gory stuff. But I don't trust him.
No.
I don't trust him. I don't know who I trust, but I don't trust Rob Zombie with it.
It seems like Rob Zombie makes good films that get played in clubs. So if a club's got a big screen and they play films, like horror films in the background, like rock clubs used to do, I feel like he'd make Hellraiser something like that. So you don't have to watch it. It'd just be on the background. It'd be quirky. You've got your horror film on, but it wouldn't be any good.
I love it. I love it, yeah. Go on.
The Hour Plus Nokia advert, Hellworld.
Okay, I mean, all right, yeah.
Oh, just so many references. Like, it was, when you watch it, they keep and it was like close-ups of the phones.
For those who maybe, we say Nokia in England. It is obviously Nokia elsewhere. Nokia.
Yeah. Just how many times I could show the phone. It was like...
That phone element was fucking stupid.
Yeah, and it was like, it took me back because that's old school phones. Like, oh yeah, Snake. I played Snake for a while while I was in that film. But yeah, it was just shit. I don't know how they got money for the film. I don't know, sponsorship.
Yeah, interesting point.
They clearly showed Nokia phones.
Yeah, there was a lot of Nokias in there, Nokias. My last one then is just it's a personal gripe. And it's something that bothered me, and I pointed out to you when we watched it. Now, I already said how much I love Hellraiser 2. But one time in that film, do I think they make a massive misstep and change up the lore and something that even later films would kind of correct as well and do correctly. And it really bothered me at the time. And I get why, because she had such a distinctive look. You kind of wanted to look like she did, but it doesn't make any sense. So it's Julia taking the skin from the hanging girl inside the room. So Julia takes the skin a la what Frank did with Larry. Now, this is important. When Frank took Larry's skin in the original movie, who did he look like? Larry, because it's Larry's skin. It was Frank underneath. When Julia takes this girl's skin, who does she look like? Julia. She looks exactly like Julia. What? How?
Yeah.
It makes no fucking sense. And even later films like Revelations would do it correctly, where someone takes someone else's skin and they look like that person because that's how it is worked.
Yeah.
But Julia takes this girl's skin and just looks like Julia. Yeah. And it's just like, okay. I mean, could you not have found some way to write a reason?
She changed it, or like she moulded the skin first, or did something to her face.
Just something, magic. Fucking hell, it's hell.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like accepted, and it's like, oh, okay.
That's how that works then.
And it's always bothered me. It's the one blemish I have in Hellbound.
Well, I was more annoyed at the fact that Julia put her bloody hands over the white walls.
Oh, yeah, you were bugged, yeah.
Oh, pristine walls, and she's all like, a toddler. And I was like, can you not? They're pristine. That annoyed me more. I know.
You got one more, right?
Yes. I thought Hellraiser Deader was a pinnacle of the awfulness.
Yeah.
I think it deserved its own segment. It was just awful. Like nothing. It was just trying to throw things in to be trendy. So like the club and the train car that we kind of pulled apart and saying, like, it's Eastern European country. Like they've still got money. They still would go, hang on a minute, there's a train carriage not being used. You wouldn't turn it into a frigging club. I mean, I don't know the underground scene of like Eastern European countries. It might be a club that's, I don't know, like a fixed train car. It might be a club, and they just put the idea. It was just shit. And there was Max. Is it Max? The Max Beasley?
Who?
The actor. That plays the guy that's like
Mark Warren.
Mark Warren that plays the
terrible in it.
It was awful. And it was just, they made the female character spunky, and she had to be like sassy, like she had to over the top sassy to show that she was good at her job. rather than just making a likeable character.
Even though she then put herself in some of the dumbest situations possible.
Yeah, and the fact that her very opening scene where she's going undercover in like a drug den, it's like, is there not better ways of helping it rather than exposing it and just like judging people? That really annoyed me, like the fact that she was going undercover.
I agree. That also, but what bothered me as well is that's not an expose.
Yeah, everyone knows
people do drugs.
People
what?
like live like this.
Yeah, like that. What? That's going to take up paper columns in your newspaper, is it? Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, they see the underbelly of drugs, and people be like, "Yo, that's not surprise.
Yeah,
that's drugs."
And you say a young woman puts herself in drug trouble, like it just stupid.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you. I mean, Dead Air is one of the worst, but it stands out in our head because of that. It's hard for me to correlate that with Revelations because fuck me, you know.
And it's still ideas as well. So I've not seen the film Hackers, but the idea there is some bullshit idea about getting to the end, killing yourself, and coming back again.
Hackers? You mean
the
Flatliners?
Sorry, not Hackers. Wrong film. 90s though. Flatliners, where they go to the edge and can't get brought back again, and they kind of like push it too far.
Right.
I feel like it stole ideas from that as well.
Okay. That's good. It's perfectly correct. You know, there is a pile of wank. There's so much bad in it. You know, and I think we could easily keep going on and on here, but we'll stop there as we've done 10 each. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?